United States of America, the reigning world champion, the first ever American world champion on pommel horse. The only thing that separated them was a tenth of execution. The execution tie-break system comes into play when the gymnasts have the same total score. McClenaghan's was higher, 8.933 to 8.833. From Stephen Nedoroscik in qualification, we saw a brilliant routine. In the pommel horse component of the team final, he was certainly not as strong. It didn't go anything like according to plan. For Rhys McClenaghan, there have been some great times and some not so great times of late, but he's been in super form coming into this competition. At the Paris World Cup, one of the key warm-up events for these World Championships, he looked like the Rhys McClenaghan that we know when he's at his absolute best. And he has, in his own words and the words of his coach, become stronger for those disappointments. What a performer Stephen Nedoroscik was at the World Championships last year. A 24-year-old from Massachusetts. This is the first full international competition he's done since he won the World Championship title. And we're looking over the shoulder of Rhys McClenaghan. Ryosuke was the 6th strongest in the preliminary round. So let us take a moment to remind ourselves of what a pommel horse final should be like, as opposed to what a pommel horse rotation has been like at these World Championships, because it's been a troublesome apparatus. And Blythe Lawrence will explain to us why it's been such a troublesome apparatus.
It's been a troublesome apparatus, basically because the gymnasts have not been able to master the routines like they have been doing in practice. We have seen an awful lot of falls, sometimes dramatic falls, as the competition has unfolded here. However, the 8 who have made it into this final have been able to master their craft.
And it is the constant kineticism of the pommel horse that makes it so interesting, in contrast to the rings, which is all about stillness and balance. The pommel horse is constant movement, and that small loss of momentum, the tiniest brush of the apparatus, can derail the gymnast. One thing that it's really worth watching for is the straightness of the gymnast midsection. Are they jackknifed in the middle? Do they manage to keep a good clean line? Are they clear from the pommels themselves, the handles of the apparatus, as ably demonstrated by Rhys McClenaghan there? What can happen sometimes in a pommel horse competition is that the gymnast just gradually starts to drift closer and closer towards the handles. That then requires them to bend at the midsection. The legs can suddenly cross over perhaps, and everything starts to fall away. In terms of clearance, he has among the finest that we've ever seen on pommel horse. The ability of Stephen Nedoroscik to do his routine dangling from the rafters of the building, it's extraordinary. And then we have Nariman Kurbanov as well, who we'll see in the second half of the competition, who also has great clearance from the apparatus.
And this gymnast, Loran de Munck of the Netherlands, had a real breakout competition at the European Championships in Munich 2 months ago.
The men's pommel horse final is about to begin. Would you choose to go first? Would you choose to go later on? What would be your preference as an athlete? I'll leave you thinking about that at home as this gentleman gets underway.
As he's being announced, he's visualizing the elements that he's about to perform.
Loran de Munck of the Netherlands, fourth strongest in qualification. The 23-year-old from Haarlem.
So far, it's been a very calm start. He's been particularly good with the Wendeschwings between the pommels. There's a traveling Wendeschwing. Down from one end of the horse to the other. The crowd is most encouraging.
Oh, no! Oh, Loran de Munck. He seemed there. He was there, almost. And in the last split seconds of this first routine, the pommel horse reminds us of its cruelty. The look on the face of Loran de Munck as he drifts to the ground tells us all that we need to know.
This is the nature of pommel horse, and this is what we have seen at these World Championships, even from the very best. He was attempting to do his dismount, but he must complete it in order to get difficulty credit for the skill. That's why he has opted to jump up again and just do that.
He's such a bright gentleman. He's fluent in 4 spoken languages. He also speaks sign language. He's a researcher in biology as a graduate of the University of Applied Sciences in Leiden. And he's changed his training routine so much lately to get into these finals. He said the key difference was doing more and more full routines, drilling and drilling in training. And it's got him to the point where he now, as you said, Blythe, at the start, has been a breakout performer this year on pommel horse. And he was very much in medal contention coming into this final.
He and Stephen Nedoroscik had the highest difficulty score of the finalists in qualification, with 6.4 being what their routines were valued at. And it's a very, very fatiguing performance to have to give. And sometimes we see that right at the dismount, where a gymnast actually has to swing their hips up into handstand, do a pirouette, and come down again.
13.533 for Loran de Munck. But he was 11th in the competition last year. This has been a great step in the right direction. Doi Ryosuke of Japan, who has looked so comfortable in his first World Championships, so confident, so composed. He comes into this as the 6th strongest in qualification. 14.466 was his score.
Clean scissor to handstand to begin. That element is called a sewn.
He also has exited the apparatus. And are we in for one of those sorts of pommel horse finals? Sometimes one gymnast coming off increases the tension, especially when a second follows, because you've got a lot of athletes now thinking, I might be in contention here, I might have a chance. And sometimes one is at one's most nervous when in contention. it was something of a walk on the wild side from Ryosuke, but he does get through the latter portion of this routine as the first two gymnasts have endured complication on the apparatus. Nonetheless, it has to be regarded as a very impressive World Championship debut overall from Ryosuke.
Oh, without a doubt. The amplitude of his hips on the opening sequence was really something extraordinary. But it does show you how critical hand placement is on these circles. If you do one thing wrong, you are very likely to wind up standing on the ground. But just as you pointed out, Olly, he's so promising.
It's tiny, isn't it? The merest of brushes of the apparatus, and there he is losing his form and exiting the apparatus unintentionally. 12.933 for Ryosuke. Rhys McClenaghan from Ireland, the top performer in qualification, the first ever Irish gymnast to win a World Championship medal when he took bronze in 2019.
Swings on one pommel. Beautiful work so far. And between the pommels, these are some of the most difficult elements in the code of points on this apparatus.
A palpable hit from Rhys McClenaghan of Ireland. And the flicker of emotion that just passed across his face after the calmest of displays as he embraces his coach. What a journey those two have been on. And what a performance in this final from Ireland's Rhys McClenaghan, who looks like the most relieved man in the building.
From start to finish, it was graceful, it was technically extremely sound, and it was so difficult. This was a masterclass on how to do pommel horse.
He's had issues with leg separation in competitions this year, not on this occasion. They were glued together. The heels clicked, the body straight, the form impressive.
And this intricate handstand pirouetting dismount at the end of it all.
At last, after the disappointment of the World Championships last year, after it didn't happen in Tokyo, oh, the anxiety in the crowd as they wait for the score. 14.233 in qualification. Ready to fly the flag for Rhys McClenaghan. The leader at the moment, Loran de Munck. That will change, one suspects. Doesn't he click the heels so well? The toe point is excellent. Very graceful and yet powerful on this apparatus. This is a long wait. It's worth it. It's 15.3. Rhys McClenaghan improves upon his qualification performance. He gains a 10th of difficulty. And he leads the way. Loran de Munck will have known the moment that routine finished that his time at the top of the leaderboard was at its end. But we've got a fascinating spell now because the second and third strongest qualifiers come up next. Here is Stephen Nedoroscik, the reigning world champion. His clearance is extraordinary.
And just like we saw from McClenaghan, Bender swings on one pommel and is sewn in both directions. However, he seems to be in trouble, but he's gotten it back.
There was a clear break in form. It didn't last long. It will be significant. Now into the Magyar-Shivado combination goes Stephen Nedoroscik. Working very hard to get round into the dismount, which he has done. And that was a masterful recovery from the reigning world champion. It will cost, but how much he saved there could be very key in this final. And what a lovely moment that is between two of the top contenders. He's spoken of the great camaraderie that the pommel horse gymnasts of the world have, Stephen Nedoroscik, and he was their leader last year. And this was going terrifically for the lion's share.
Yes, it certainly was. And the fact that he didn't come off is really extraordinary. His body was quite bent, his momentum had slowed, and somehow he managed to stay on.
He's so bent in the midsection there, the legs lose their position. It is remarkable that he had the physical strength and the wherewithal to save that. It will undoubtedly compromise his execution score. A gentleman who wears the Secret Santa gift of goggles from his friend Ben. Graduate of electrical engineering. He scores 14.4. He's in second place. And that's a major challenger to Rhys McClenaghan, who has not managed to match the Irishman's score. But there are others, including the next gymnast that we're going to see, who can do that. At the moment, at the halfway mark, it's Ireland's Rhys McClenaghan who leads the way over Stephen Nedoroscik and Loran de Munck. The real gap between second and third. And those two have been working together for some time.
6-2.
Something that we've never, ever seen before is a Jordanian gymnast in a final at the World Championships. This is a landmark moment for Ahmad Abu Al-Soud, for his nation. And if you watch a lot of World Cup gymnastics, the regular season events, you'll know him well. And he's a mercurial gymnast when it comes to pommel horse finals. He's probably about 1/3 of the time stronger than qualification, and the rest of the time he doesn't quite get there. When he hits his routines, he is so graceful to watch and so impressive in his clearance and his alignment. Now, what on earth is he still doing, performing at this level at his age? The 36-year-old Filip Ude, who won a silver medal in Beijing at the Olympic Games in 2008 and a silver medal at the European Championships the same year. He won a World Championship silver medal in 2014. You can't be 36 and say, oh, hang on a minute, you can be 38. Harutyun Merdinyan, the bronze medalist in 2015 at the World Championships, but more recently, very recently, just days after his 38th birthday, he won the European Championship title. He was the 5th strongest in qualification for this final. Can you imagine these gymnasts getting onto that podium? Ahmad Abu Al-Soud, the first Jordanian. Filip Ude at 36, Harutyun Merdinyan at 38. And then there's the 3rd strongest qualifier, Nariman Kurbanov of Kazakhstan, the 24-year-old from Almaty at his 5th World Championships. He was 4th last year in Kitakyushu. Yet to really win a big competition. From Kazakhstan, Nariman Kurbanov, a postgraduate student in law at the Al-Farabi National University in Almaty. He hopes to lay the law down on this final. He was the 3rd best in qualification with 15.033. That would put him in 2nd place now.
He has wonderful lines and build for pommel horse. The long arms and long legs that make everything look so graceful.
But he too has had a struggle, and he too has clamped down on it incredibly.
He did say that for this final, he would be adding more difficulty to his routine.
He's there, just about. Nariman Kurbanov of Kazakhstan, an excellent performer on the World Cup circuit this season, a silver medalist in the warm-up competition in Paris, and then the week after that in the Hungary World Cup in Szombathely, he won the title. He certainly went for it, but there was a clear form break. Otherwise, the form is wonderful, but here loses totally his position, and it's an incredible save.
And this is the skill that is very difficult that we've remarked on a couple of times already. The Wendeschwing on one pommel.
But you're so right in what you say, Blythe, about his overall appearance on pommel horse, his sense of elegance, almost a statuesque quality. .533. Now that is very significant. Nariman Kurbanov goes into 2nd place. He's down half a mark from qualification, but that save, after he lost his form, has put him into medal contention. But there is a gap for somebody to exploit. Ahmad Abu Al-Soud of Jordan, the 27-year-old from Amman, becomes the first Jordanian ever to take to a World Championship final. Congratulations to him, whatever happens now.
He quite clearly has the reflexes to do pommel horse very well. The legs are completely glued together. And so far, the swing has been very precise.
And his last World Championships, he barely finished in the top 200. And look at him now. That is amazing. Ahmad Abu Al-Soud, the reigning 2-time Asian champion and the reigning 3-time Arab champion, has delivered a wonderful performance in this final. We mentioned earlier that he has had consistency issues in World Cup finals. Well, forget about the World Cups. At the World Championships, he's just delivered one of the best performances of his life. He's a coach and personal trainer with a degree from the University of Jordan. He says he owes everything in his life to his mum. He can never thank her enough. Well, how's that for repayment? 14.866. Ahmad Abu Al-Soud of Jordan has gone into the silver medal position with 2 to go. He's one routine away from possibly having a guaranteed place on the podium. Two veterans left. Filip Ude of Croatia, the 7th strongest in qualification and one of the greats on this piece.
Does a long sequence of work on one pommel. The leg separation on the Wendeschwings is something that is characteristic for him. We've seen him do that before on the World Cup circuit.
Now Filip Ude of Croatia doesn't quite conclude his routine as he intended to.
On pommel horse, the dismount must cross the body of the horse, so he will have a fall for that, and he will also lose 3/10 of a point.
Just didn't quite get there, and as a result he has to mount the apparatus and go for it again. Well, it was not the final that Filip Ude hoped for, but to see this veteran performer who was on the Olympic podium in 2008 still making World Championship finals is a joy. And in a moment you imagine Ahmad Abu Al-Soud is about to discover that he is guaranteed a World Championship medal.
It was a great recovery from Filip Ude. Unfortunately, the fatigue issues potentially on the dismount lead to the significant deduction that takes him out of this competition.
Rhys McClenaghan is guaranteed at least a bronze medal. Once the score comes in, it might be a silver. 12.5 for Filip Ude. So we know this. The gentleman to his left, Ahmad Abu Al-Soud, has just become the first Jordanian ever to win a medal at the Gymnastics World Championships. Rhys McClenaghan has already bettered his performance from 2019. Only one gentleman can change things. It's the 38-year-old reigning European champion, Armenia's Harutyun Merdinyan, the bronze medalist from Glasgow in 2015.
On the big occasion, He has proven time and again that he is more than capable. Impeccable form and fluid swing.
Just seemed to have a touch of the unexpected there, but he's still going, and he's going very well, and he's put himself surely into the picture. Harutyun Merdinyan of Armenia. He concludes a quite extraordinary Pommel horse final. At 38, he has displayed some of the best form of his life. Now, has he done enough to go ahead of Nariman Kurbanov? The score in qualification for Merdinyan was 14.7. Kurbanov is currently on 14.533. The last score to come in will be for Harutyun Merdinyan of Armenia. He's there! He's on the podium! The 38-year-old has won the bronze medal! Months after taking the European Championship title. And it means that Rhys McClenaghan has become the first ever Irish world champion. He's put some difficult days behind him. He looked fantastic coming into these World Championships. He said he felt so confident and so ready, and boy was he ready. Rhys McClenaghan, champion of the world. And amidst all of this celebration, this gentleman has risen 175 places from his last World Championships. Ahmad Abu Al-Soud has achieved the finest result by a Jordanian gymnast in their history. The first ever Jordanian medal at the World Championships of Gymnastics. And he's proof, Ahmad Abu Al-Soud, that if you keep going to these World Cup events, these smaller events, sometimes in far-flung places, and you keep refining your craft and you keep getting better and better and better, you will make it, you will break through. Rhys McClenaghan shakes his head. He takes the most relaxing breath of his life, because he's finally become the champion of the world. The classified results in the men's Pommel horse final. The bronze medal to Armenia's Harutyun Merdinyan, the silver medal to Ahmad Abu Al-Soud of Jordan, and the gold medal to Rhys McClenaghan of Ireland. And if that isn't a fairy tale podium, I don't know what is.